Bagaimana situasi terkini Ukraina di tengah meningginya tensi hubungan dengan Rusia? Kami akan langsung membahasnya bersama dengan Duta Besar Ukraina untuk Indonesia, His Excellency Vasyl Hamianin. Hello, sir.
Hello, morning.
How are you?
Selamat pagi. Baik, terima kasih.
Hope you have a great week.
Thank you.
All right, we are wondering that how's the current condition in Ukraine, because we've heard that Western officials said that Russian troops have entered western Ukraine.
Well, it's a question I can answer in a very long manner and a very brief manner. First one, I would prefer the brief one. The territories Russia has occupied 8 years ago, which is, as I call it, Donbass, a part of the Donetsk and Luhansk region. So they stayed under occupation for 8 years. And now Russia moves troops into this region more and more. So actually it never stopped. There is a lot of Russian weapons already in there. So now they do it openly. Before this, they proved, they argued that there's no Russian troops, there's no Russian weapons in there. But now the truth became open, finally. So everybody knows that, yes, there are Russian troops, there are fighters, and there is no such a word like, well, there is the separatists, as you call them, but mainly it's Russia. It's not that our people we fight with, it's Russian militaries we fight with. So the situation is simple. Russia is escalating the situation and trying to threaten Ukraine with its weapons, with its troops, with everything. But Ukraine stays calm, and Ukraine is ready to fight.
So how's the Ukrainians, respond to that? How are they holding up?
You mean Ukrainians in in general, right?
Ukrainians.
Well, I must say that some Ukrainians are panicking, like thinking, oh my God, there's going to be a war. We have war for 8 years already. So now it's not time to panic. It's time to be ready. And I must say that Russian troops, Russian army, Russian militaries would not like fighting with the Ukrainian army, because now, at present, well, I'm very confident about this because I know, right, that Ukrainian army at present, with its present status, is one of the best armies in the world, and definitely one of the most prepared army in Europe.
So they're confident.
And calm, yes, absolutely. So I don't think they would like it.
All right then. The current conditions in Ukraine, because we've heard that some of the ambassador offices in Ukraine are closed, and there have been, evacuations, for some people, foreign people in Ukraine to other countries. And also we've heard that maybe United States will help President Zelensky to, for evacuation.
I think that the evacuation thing is more like a message for Putin. It's not a message for Ukrainian people. What I mean is the embassies and the countries that evacuated the diplomats or people or citizens to the other countries, like to Europe or westwards, they give a message to Putin that whatever happens, we are ready. And whatever happens, we are well prepared for this. But as President Zelensky proves, it's no time to panic. And I would agree with him totally, entirely, that we shouldn't panic. And here, I would like to express my deep gratitude to the government of Indonesia, because what the embassy of Indonesia in Ukraine does, say, okay, we are preparing, we are well prepared, we have all the contacts, we have the lists of people, of Indonesian citizens living in Ukraine, but we don't panic, we stay calm and love Ukraine. That's sort of. So Indonesian embassy is not going to evacuate unless anything starts. So not yet, and believe me, if anything starts, well, they will stop over there, far from the capital, far from Ibu Kota, Ukraine.
Ambassador Vasyl, the Ukrainian government reveals that it no longer has ambitions to become a member of NATO. That decision significantly reduced tensions with Russia?
I think you have the wrong information. We never ever said that Ukraine is not going to join NATO and the European Union.
Yeah.
Maybe, well, it's a part of Russian propaganda. It's part of Russian lies, diplomatic lies. They always say that, well, Ukraine is not going to join NATO, Ukraine is not going to join European Union, Ukraine is going to go back to Russian Empire. No, that's not going to happen. And what President Zelensky said recently, his message was very clear. We don't refuse to join NATO. We are going towards the North Alliance, towards NATO and European Union. But something, you know, if NATO doesn't want us, like immediately, we will stay calm. We will develop our army, we will develop our economy. We don't stop moving towards NATO, but it's, we're not going to refuse it because of the Russian threat. NATO is the basis, is the factor of stability, right? Which will prevent the invasion of Russia, not only to Ukraine, but to other lands, as Russia did in 2008 with Georgia, as Russia did in 90s in Moldova. So if we join NATO, that will not going to happen. That's why Russia always said that Ukraine is not going to join NATO. Ukraine is forbid. We forbid Ukraine to join NATO. But in fact, no, Ukraine is going to, because it's enshrined in the constitution of Ukraine that we are going towards NATO. And yeah. And last thing, even if we refuse, even if you say no, we're not going to demilitarize what Putin says in his last speech, this will not protect us against Russia, because Russia just wants Ukraine in the empire.
Okay, point taken, Ambassador Vasyl. How's the impact of the Ukraine-Russia crisis to the energy and economy of the European region?
This is a very good question, because that's what I call a hybrid war of Russia. They're not just imposing threat or military impact on Ukraine, but Russian diplomacy, Russian policy, Russian military efforts, Russian threats, it really threats the whole system of security in Europe and in the world, globally, because if the war starts somewhere in Ukraine, it will influence the whole Europe and I would say the world at large. And what they do, they use the hybrid methods to impose pressure and to undermine Ukrainian independence. It's a military threat, it's economic pressure by cutting off gas, cutting off oil, whatever they have, like coal and everything. So all of a sudden, when we have winter, they say, okay, you will have no gas to have the central heating, you'll freeze to death. Ukraine says, okay, we are ready. So Russia is trying all the methods to undermine Ukraine and to threaten Europe. Let Europe be afraid of them. Let Europe be afraid of Russian so-called like greatness or something. No, Europe is not afraid. Ukraine is not afraid. We are well prepared, and I would say that whatever actions it takes from Russia, it will be well managed, well treated by Ukrainian army, by Ukrainian government, and by Europeans also.
All right. So how do you see, Indonesia's role in easing the Ukrainian-Russian tensions? What does Ukraine expect from Indonesians?
This is again a very good question. I would say that I'm new here in Indonesia. I just stayed for 4 months here, but what I discovered in Indonesia, it's very important for me personally that the spirit of Indonesian people, the spirit for merdeka, the spirit for independence and freedom is unbeatable here. And what is very important, it's very similar to Ukrainian spirit. So Indonesia knows what it takes to fight for independence. Indonesia knows what price you paid many years ago to become independent. It's like, Ukraine paid a great price for this also. So Indonesian people, like no one else maybe in this region, understand what it takes to be independent, to gain independence, to be free people. So what I expect of Indonesia, just to think about it, just to remember the spirit of Merdeka, the spirit of freedom, and to say something. Because Indonesia is a very influential country. It's I would say, well, some say it's like a regional leader. I think Indonesia is one of the global leaders now. It's a very big country with a strong economy and with a very strong will, and directed on the greater good, I would say. I would not repeat what President Jokowi explained within the presidency in the G20, but it's very good. It goes right with the world trends, and it goes well with what we think about how the world should be. So we would expect from Indonesia to speak up loudly what they think about the independence, about the rights of the country, like Ukraine or any country in the world under threat of invasion. And that's what we expect, really, like to say a word. Because the word of Indonesia worldwide, globally, is very substantial. And no Putin, no anyone else would ignore it.
Ambassador Vasyl, regarding cooperation with Indonesia, what are the plans for cooperation between Indonesia and Ukraine?
Well, we don't only have plans. We cooperate now, and I think that potential for our cooperation is greater, much greater than we have now. Well, we can talk about all sorts of cooperation and all sorts of spheres. We would pay more attention. We should pay more attention. For example, like the food security, that's one. The military cooperation, the economy, technologies, which we still have in Ukraine. And I know for sure that Indonesia would need it, because now it's developing rapidly. And something like, for example, IT is very famous in Ukraine. I mean, IT specialists in Ukraine are top worldwide, so they're recognized everywhere. In the United States, half of the programmers and the IT guys from Ukraine. So I think in terms of digital transformation, energy transition, health architecture, whatever, we can really cooperate greatly in this. And other things which I'm starting to develop is the study in Ukraine. This is something, I mean, we have the very high quality of education for a very reasonable price. So I invite Indonesian students to go to Ukraine. It's a great country. And tourism, of course.
Good idea.
We can do it both ways, but we don't have much tourists from Indonesia in Ukraine yet.
More specifically, how is the development of military technology cooperation between Indonesia and Ukraine?
Oh, this is very specific sphere for cooperation. But I would say very simply, okay? We have a lot of things to propose to Indonesia in this sphere, but this will require the Indonesian companies, Indonesian experts, to go and see, because it's very important to see, to see something tangible, to have a look how it works. And I'm not going to hide this. We have a lot of things to propose to Indonesia. It's very important that Indonesian partners will be able to visit Ukraine, to attend the exhibitions, to attend the military exercise in Ukraine, and to see really what it takes. Well, very small example, just very small example how Ukrainian techniques works in general, right? I just discovered 2 months ago, I think, that back in the 60s, Indonesia has purchased 1960s, right? It's like what? Like 60 years ago. Indonesia purchased like what? I don't know, 100 or something Ukrainian lorries, trucks, right? And it just worked in somewhere in Kalimantan, Sulawesi, somewhere in jungles, right? Running there. And now we discovered they still run. 60 years, they still run. So that's how Ukrainian techniques, Ukrainian military things, that's how it works. So please come and see.
All right. Thank you very much, Ambassador Vasyl, for your time, for taking this interview.
Thank you.
Stay healthy. It was a very eye-opening discussion. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you.